What time is it? It's Packard Folks at time. Hat? Check. Shirt? Check. Pants? Optional. Mug? Double check. Check us out at cafepress.com/PackardPokesat where you can get all this great merchandise and more.
Do you like Packard Pokesat and want to hear it on demand and on the go? Download the free app today at Stitcher.com. Available on iOS, Android, Nook, and iPad.
This is Packard Pokesat, and I'm poking at your news. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another fine edition of Packard Pokesat. I am your immutable and unmutable host, Packard Sonic. And joining me tonight from the far East Coast is the Atheist Ranger.
Hey guys, what's up?
And joining me from the ill, that is Illinois, is Matt, Not a Believer 71.
Hello, everybody.
There's been a big debate about the freedom of the internet. The FCC has done with Pyatt Idjit. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce his name, but I'm just going to call him an idiot because he's an idiot. Him and the Republicans have decided to try to close down the internet on us. If you want faster speeds, you got to pay more money. So that means all of us people who decide to try to start little businesses or just the things we'd like to do, chatting, visiting with friends or family or whatever, that's all going to get slowed down, especially like online gaming or Netflix or whatever, and those sites will either have to pay to play, as they say, or they will have to cut down. So when you go to watch your video or your movie or whatever, it's going to sit there buffering, and that's a horrible thing to wait for. I mean, starting with a 56K modem, well, actually, my first modem was a 14.4, so I mean, I didn't get started way at the bottom of the spectrum there, and the fastest modem, as it were, was a 56K at the time. It's not like cable modems like we have today where everything's like really super fast. You had to wait and everything was buffering or stuttering or whatever. We don't have those kind of problems now because the internet's a little bit more open and the technology's caught up. The FCC basically said, we want to shut that down, so we're going to end up with that buffering and stuttering all over again, unless, of course, those services want to pay. If those services have to pay more, they're going to make us pay more. That's been a big contention, and they were asked very nicely to hold off on the vote, but they decided, you know what? We're going to do the vote anyway. The thing is, this is not a done deal. This is not a done deal. The Democrats have gotten together along with 17 other states, New York being one of them, and North Carolina, Massachusetts, Iowa, Illinois, Maryland, Maine, Mississippi, Oregon, Pennsylvania, California, Hawaii, Delaware, Virginia, North Carolina, Rhode Island, Washington, Vermont, and the District of Columbia are all getting together to sue the FCC because of this new policy they decided to do. So they're going to try to get their policy repealed so we can have an open network again, just like we had before. The fact is that they want to slow us down. It's harmful. And to make us pay more if we want faster speeds is ridiculous. There are countries that are almost third world nations. South Korea, for example, has a screaming internet and they pay very, very little. They want us to pay more for less. Atheist Ranger, your thoughts?
Well, there's really not much to say on this because it's been talked about kind of to death for weeks, but I guess my just 2 cents is, once again, we live in a country where, once again, the green is what matters, okay? And the guy in charge of SEC, I don't know if anyone knows this or not, I mean, I think the three of us do, is a former Verizon lawyer. Not shockingly, he's going to vote in favor of that, and you pretty much touched on it. I mean, the fact is, the guy in charge of the FCC, I should say, he is trying to convince people that with net neutrality, it's pretty much the government controlling the internet. That is not true. That is a myth. Net neutrality is pretty much the government telling the FCC and internet providers, hey, every single piece of data that's on the internet is to be treated equally, period, okay? And this idea that it's going to hurt small business, no, getting rid of it is going to hurt small business. Because obviously the bigger companies and the bigger corporations are going to have that money to get in the fast lane. Those small businesses are not.
Yeah. Now, there is one important thing here. There's a Representative Marsha Blackburn. Now, she applauded the outcome of this FCC turnover and debacle. She's actually in the pocket of the big business businesses that want to slow us down. She wants this, okay? And she's trying to put this forward and say, hey, call them up and vote for this bill that she's pushing forward. I'm not sure exactly what it is off the top of my head, but you don't want that bill because it would basically bolster what the FCC has already done. And it would not only limit us, but it would also censor us as well. Now, because she basically wanted a light touch regulatory regime. So they basically want to also censor anything that we see. So you don't get to go to watch whatever it is you want to watch, whether it be kittens playing or your adult material or whatever. If you can't do that because your ISP says, we're not going to let you do that anymore because reasons. I'm a grown adult. I should be able to watch whatever I want within legal reasons, obviously. Matt, your thoughts?
Well, I agree with what you're saying. I mean, this is ridiculous. Then if they're going to charge people more for faster internet, then they better start charging people less for slower internet.
That's a great point.
I mean, think about it. Your slower internet speeds right now, you're paying through the nose regardless, whether you're getting faster or slower.
Yeah.
So if they're going to charge people more for faster internet, and then they're going to, regulate things like, well, you can't watch this, but you can watch that. Well, no, this is the internet. We can watch whatever we want within reason.
Mm-hmm.
They're shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Speaking of YouTube, because we are on YouTube, we're also going to be on another site you can also subscribe to. It's free. It's called BitChute. That's BITCHUTE. So if you want to watch the show, also it'll be on there as well. Just want to throw that plug in for our BitChute account. The commission on this is just horrible. And you're right, Matt. If we're going to get less internet, we should pay less, but they're not going to do that. The reason why they won't do that is because they know that we're going to pay for it one way or the other. And since most ISPs, it used to be in the early days, you had a choice of like your homegrown ISP to get on the internet one way or the other. I mean, you could go down to DSL through your telephone company, but the problem there is DSL is incredibly slow compared to things like cable and satellite. Well, satellite's even slower.
Right.
And since those companies are basically almost non-existent anymore, you almost have no options. So they know, like, where are you going to go? Where are you going to get internet through your phone? Come on now. I mean, the phone's great and everything, but you're limited by data caps right there. If you want unlimited, you have to pay almost as much as you are for your desktop stuff as it is. And that is all capped off at certain speeds also. So you're almost back to the 56K modem.
Like I said, they're screwing us regardless of whichever way we turn, we're getting screwed.
Yeah, it's just not right.
No, it's not. And I'm glad that these states are saying, hey, you know what, we're not going to put up with this stuff. We're going to sue you.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that all 50 states will do it.
I would hope at least more than 17 states come forward. I'm not sure, but most of the states that I've mentioned are probably, with the exception of District of Columbia, are states that are Democratic controlled. If I saw Wisconsin on there, that would be a different story. Then I couldn't say that. But Wisconsin is controlled by the Republican House right now, and they're not joining in the fight because it's going to affect their pocketbooks. And they probably got a stake in this too.
Right.
Is this the real life? Is this just fantasy? Caught in a landslide, no escape from reality.
You know, coming out of religion is a little difficult for some people, and I was no exception, and I'm sure there's a number of people out there that had to battle with family, friends to say, hey, I just don't believe in this stuff anymore. But when it's family and you're like, have to deal with that, and you have to make sure that they still put a roof over your head and clothes on your back and a food in your mouth, you have a little bit harder time. Well, about 8 years ago, a U.S. atheist who was living with his Christian father received an interesting surprise. Now, the son had been reading Christopher Hitchens' God is Not Great. As a joke, the dad made up a book binding from piece of paper or whatever. He just put over another book that he had in his house, and it said, Atheism and the Morons Who Believe It. Really? And he left it out for his son to find it, and he posted it up on Reddit, and it probably would have ended right there. Except, that's when things got a little interesting. One of our former co-hosts went through kind of a similar situation like this. She's mentioned on the show very often is Connie Practical Magic 9. She's mentioned how she used to be a believer, and then she slowly, with the help of her own kids, came out of Christianity and is now an atheist. And that's exactly what happened in this instance. The father probably started reading the book, and then it's like, okay, these things don't make sense. And it took him 8 years, but he's now an atheist. I mean, how cool is that? Atheist Ranger, your thoughts?
I think that's the best Christmas gift ever. Yeah, I mean, basically growing up, my father was also a deist. I was a deist until I turned 16. So, this one hits home a little bit because, I mean, again, we weren't religious. We were just deists. But after a while, I turned an atheist, and, my dad and I would occasionally talk about that kind of thing. And soon enough, he was an atheist.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, this is just great. I wish, deconverting people was just that easy.
Just one other thing here. I just want to mention that the father, when he printed this fake book cover, the author was the letter I, the letter B, and the word right, WRIGHT. Like, I'm a right and you're a wrong. It's kind of like sticking their finger in your eye saying, hey, I'm right and you're not. I'm glad that he's like, did this 180 and said, this isn't good. This religion stuff is just not for me anymore. I mean, we need more people like this to actually examine their beliefs. Most atheists out there that used to be religious actually did that. They actually took a skeptical look at what they actually believed. And for the people out there that are religious and you don't want to look at your religion skeptically, then I feel really sorry for you. You're not opening yourself up to new ideas. We get accused of being closed-minded all the time. Being closed-minded is not really that horrible a thing, especially if it's bad ideas. And religion is a really horrible idea. Matt, your thoughts?
Oh, I agree with you on that. I guess the father finally saw the light. The atheist light.
Yeah, I was going to say, make sure that the light that's coming that she sees is not an oncoming train,
Yeah, well, yeah. But I'm sure there are a lot of atheists that were originally religious. I was raised Catholic, and I mean, I practiced it, but I was kind of forced to. But then, once I got older, I started questioning things, and, here I am today.
When you joined the show originally, you were still kind of in the fence. And then after, I don't remember, there was a certain story that you saw, and it's like, I remember you mentioned on the show, it's like, today, I'm an atheist.
Yeah, I can't remember what that was, but you just get to that point where it's like, okay, is this real or not? Or, I mean, I was tired of being on the fence, so I decided, well, I'm going to go atheist.
Hey, you fell on the right side of the fence. That's where all the cushy support is. I mean, the other side's got glass and broken bottles and stuff on it. So,
well, I always found that, sitting in church for an hour or however long it is, usually, it's boring.
Really? You don't say. I'm glad to see that this kind of thing is happening where there's more people turning around. I mean, the nuns, as it were, the people who do not believe is going up and the people who believe is going down. We're nowhere near close to each other, but I mean, for them, it's dropping. And I'm hoping one day this whole planet will just wake up and religion will be a bad nightmare that we had to go through to go, this happened, it's in our history, and we don't look back at that anymore. I mean, we learn from it, but we don't do that anymore because we know it's a poison.
I don't know if that'll ever happen or not. You never know.
Not in our lifetime, unfortunately.
Yeah, it won't be in our lifetime, absolutely, probably.
No.
But if you think about it, about 1,000 years ago or so, we were worshiping multiple gods, and then they got it down to one, for most of us anyway. Not us. I mean, the human race, as it were, is just worshiping one god, or sometimes less than 5. I mean, the Hindus, they got a few thousand. I don't know. They got the god of the dresser drawer, I suppose. I don't know what they've got, but
well, if you figure, what has religion done?
Yeah,
all these wars that we fought, mostly over religion.
Mm-hmm. Most of them.
After 9/11 hit, it was during the war, and Osama bin Laden came out with a statement saying that we'll stop all this if everybody converts to Islam. I don't know if anybody remembers that or not.
I don't remember that.
This is supposedly when he was still alive.
I was there, so I have no idea.
But I do remember hearing that. And I remember thinking about that. I'm like, okay, this guy wants all Americans to convert to Islam. And then he'll stop all the killings and these terrorist attacks and whatnot. No.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm not converting to your religion because of that.
Right. That's just basically doing it out of threat. That's like the Christians out there say, believe or burn. Well, that's a threat. You're trying to convert people based on something bad going to happen to you. That's not a good reason to change.
Right.
That's no different from what the Muslims do. The only thing is they just want to just kill you right out if you don't convert.
Yeah.
Although, going back to our first story for just a moment, there was this great meme I saw not that long ago when you said Osama bin Laden was killed and everything like that. Well, someone had taken a picture of Osama bin Laden, put a picture of a razor, and shaving cream and whatnot. And then your next picture was pied idiot. Their striking comparison is very strong. I'm just saying.
While we are poking at your news, you can poke us at Facebook and Twitter, or poke us with an email at ppapodcast@gmail.com, or leave us a message at 662-709-PPAP. join us live on YouTube/PackardPokesEt on Friday nights at 9 p.m. Central Time. Be part of the conversation by live chatting with us during the show. Enjoy the show? Help support us by becoming a monthly patron at patreon.com/PackardPokesEt. Or look awesome by buying something at cafepress.com/PackardPokesEt. No money, no problem. You can help us by sharing the show with friends and rate us on iTunes and Stitcher. For everyone that shares and rates us, you kick ass.
The Atheists,
The Bible.
and No Wardrobe, the podcast.
Wait a minute. No wardrobe? You mean we're going to be naked while we do this?
Well, seeing how I'm an atheist and I'm reading the Bible, and since clothes are flammable,
Fire! Fire! Fire!
I thought it might be a good idea to take them all off first.
Naked or not, follow along as we read, analyze, and try to keep you from falling asleep as we go through this boring-ass book.
Find us on iTunes, Stitcher, and Spreaker. Who knows? We may even be on YouTube someday. And be sure to check out our secondary podcast, The Atheist, the Bible, and No Wardrobe. A new episode dropped on Thursday at 7 o'clock in the morning. So be sure to listen to that. And if you haven't heard the back episodes, oh my gosh, you missed a whole lot. I mean, some really good jokes and some really bad ones. Of course, we're only using the material we got.
What if there's a really bad, crummy guy who's going to jail, but I know he's innocent?
Well, Bart, your Uncle Arthur used to have a saying. Shoot 'em all and let God sort 'em out. Unfortunately, one day he put his theory into practice. It took 75 federal marshals to bring him down. Now let's never speak of him again.
A former Christian school teacher, age 29, was arrested after being caught in bed with a teen. Well, we hear a lot of stories like this a lot, actually. In fact, we've covered a number of these. And the reason why we're covering this particular one, in this instance, the teenager was a boy. And before you go there, the school teacher was a woman this time. Oh, yeah, that's a thing. Also, an Oregon Christian school teacher was arrested after being accused of having an affair with a 15-year-old student that lasted a little bit more than a year. Authorities said that on Monday that Andrea Nicole Barber, age 29, was arrested at her home in Cottage Grove on Friday. The Register Guard reported the arrest came just days later. Days later? It took the cops several days after being informed this was going on to arrest this person, which I don't understand. That should have been immediate, not days later. Apparently what had happened, her husband had come home and caught her and the teenager in bed together. And apparently the parents of the teenager found out about this also, and they informed the authorities. The student's father reported the relationship to the police on December 12th after he and his wife received an anonymous email asking if they knew of the boy and Logos Christian Academy teacher were in a sexual relationship. That's probably why it took so long, I'm guessing. I mean, I'm hoping that they didn't get this tip and the parents complained and the cop just sat it in their hands. I hope that's not what happened here. But the fact is that another school teacher and a Christian school teacher on top of it is going around and doing this with teenagers. That's just not right. If this situation had been reversed, where if it had been a guy with a 15-year-old girl, people's hair would be on fire right now trying to get this guy strung up. But because it's a woman, most people out there are probably going, well, that's fine because the boy is able to take and deal with it a little bit better because he's already ready for sex and everything. It's irrelevant. And the fact is that it still happened to a teenager. This teenager is 15 years old. They can't consent. Atheist Ranger, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, people are going to have that attitude when it comes to, a male sleeping with a female teacher, a female person of authority. I mean, let's be honest. There's certain adult websites, I'll just say that kind of promote that kind of thing. Not to mention the fact that I'm sure most of us have seen that Adam Sandler movie, That's My Boy. As funny as that film was, again, if that had been, a woman and a man, I'm pretty sure most people wouldn't have found that funny.
Right.
Now, I've made it very clear to my audience, and I'm pretty sure to my two co-hosts here, I don't want to have kids ever, period. However, if I were to have a kid, and if I would have a son, let me be very clear. I don't want any adult touching him. Let me be very clear about that. Adult touching him until he is 18. I don't care if my son's teacher is as hot as Beyonce. Okay, you wait till he's 18, or I will, yank your freaking hair out.
No, I completely agree. I completely agree. In this culture, we have a thing where if the girl gets touched before she's 18, then all hell breaks loose because reasons, and they think that's more important somehow for whatever reason. But if it's a boy, it's like, not a big deal. It's just a boy. We sent him off to war to die. But the girls, we got to protect them. The boys, we don't need to protect. We had a comment from the chat room from Connie Practical Magic 9. She said, predatory pedophiles know no gender, and they often hide behind positions of authority and or religious piety. And that's true. The gender is irrelevant. If they're underage, the gender is irrelevant. If you touch that person and they're not of legal age, especially for consent laws, then you should go to jail, period. Matt, your thoughts?
Oh, I agree totally on that. They treat the women differently who do stuff like this than the men. You see it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
They get basically a slap on the wrist, and the guys, if it was a man that was doing it, he'd be looking at years and years and years.
Exactly.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, we had a couple comments from the chat room here. From Tuck Frump, thank you for your comment. He says, 18 or not, it's wrong. A person in a position of power should never do that, no matter if the kid is old enough. That's an interesting thought right there, especially, that power dynamic. Let's say you're in high school and you're 18. I mean, there are some 18-year-olds in high school. I think there are rules to keep that from happening because there is that power dynamic there. You're the teacher and you can affect their life with their grades or whatnot. So yeah, that's not a good thing right there. I mean, if it was a kid from, like, say, a school that you don't go to, and that kid's 18 and you're a teacher in another school altogether, like, I don't know, grade school, hey, you're both adults at that point. I mean, you're not going to be affecting each other. There's no power dynamics there. I'm sorry, Matt, go ahead.
Well, 18 is the law. In most states, there are some states that allow 17 or age of consent.
Yeah.
If a student is 18 and they're still in high school, depending on where their birthday fell on, legally they're 18. But I just think, it's definitely wrong for any teacher or any person in position of power to do that to a child.
I completely agree. We had one last comment on this from the chat room here from Connie Practical Magic 9. Thank you for your comment. She says, well, Packard, we have to regulate vaginas, don't you know? Grr. She's right. That's the way it seems to be. We have to regulate them. Don't touch those penises. Yeah, run for the hills. Do whatever you want with them because reasons. Our society is a little messed up.
It's the Onion Radio News.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't.
I like to go out to eat every once in a while. I mean, when I can afford to. Most times I can't because I'm a poor little podcaster. That's why you need to donate to the show over at patreon.com/PackardPokesat. But when you go out to dinner, you're usually there with all your clothes on. Unless it's wintertime, you take off your coat maybe, you set it off the side, and then you sit down and you have a nice meal. Well, over in France, there is a new restaurant that just popped up. It's called Au Naturel, and it's a restaurant for nudists. And no, you can't bring your camera. Basically what they do is it's a double door type situation. You walk in and then you get your reservations or whatever. Then you go into a changing room and then you get a place where you can take off all your clothes. You put them in a little locker or whatever. And then you get like a little key. I guess you put it around your wrist or just hold on to it, I guess. You have no pockets, obviously, because you're completely naked. And then you go through another door and then you're in the restaurant. So you can sit down and have a naked meal. Now, I've got to say that there's one positive side of this besides seeing everything out there, because for myself, I'd be going, it depends on who I'm sitting across the table with or the people that are in the restaurant. I don't know if I would either forget I had food on my plates or just lose my appetite altogether. But let's say I can have an appetite and I'm eating, I don't know, spaghetti or something with wine and I spill it on myself. Well, at least I don't have to go to the dry cleaners. Just wipe it off and I'm done. Atheist Radio, your thoughts?
I've never ever wanted to go to France, but now I think I might. And again, I'm more concerned of who I'm going to see in there because, I definitely want to see like people my own age naked. What I don't want to see is some 65-year-old woman or man for that matter.
That's where everything's hanging a little lower than they should be.
You would know, huh, Packard?
Yes, I do. We had a question from the chat room from Tuck Frump. Thank you for your question and comment. He goes, "Where do you keep your wallet?" With lots of question marks. I imagine what you probably do is maybe you order ahead of time and you just pay it ahead of time before you go in and you take your wallet, or get dressed and you pay afterwards, after you get dressed and you pay on your way out. I don't know. The story doesn't share that. There are some images of everybody being naked in there, but they have enough glasses and items on the table so you don't quite see everything. Matt, your thoughts?
I don't think I would do that. I'm not into that kind of stuff.
Well, you don't have to be, obviously. I mean,
No, I know. I'm just saying, a little creepy. I guess. I don't know.
You know, the thing is, we're all naked right now, just under our clothes. You know, I'm just saying.
Oh, no, I understand that, but we don't walk around naked, like, unless you're at a place where that's allowed.
There are places like that. There are, nudist colonies or whatnot, which this whole situation, this story kind of reminds me. There was this old TV show. It's called Golden Girls. And yes, I used to watch it occasionally. And I caught this one episode. They went on vacation and they didn't realize it. They were at a nudist colony. So they go down for lunch and everybody's naked and they're like, what's going on? And it's like, that's when they learned they are at the nudist colony. So they debate over what they're going to do about it. And they decide, you know what? When dinner comes around, we're just going to get undressed and just go down anyway. So they do that and they get down there and everybody's dressed. And they're like, what's going on? I thought this was a nudist colony. Yes, but we always dress for dinner.
Wow.
And everybody's looking at them like they're the oddballs. So they had everything backwards the whole time. I don't want to know what they do for breakfast, okay? They didn't show what they did for breakfast. I'm just saying. Yeah, we had a quick comment from the chat room from Connie Practical Magic 9. She says, "Go down anyway." Phrasing, Packard, phrasing. Not what I meant.
Fuck the motherfucker, fuck the motherfucker, fuck the motherfucker, he's a fucking motherfucker. Fuck the motherfucker, fuck the fucking fucker, fuck the motherfucker, he's a total fucking fucker. Fuck the motherfucker, fuck the motherfucker, fuck the motherfucker, fucking fuck the motherfucker. Fuck the motherfucker, fuck the motherfucking Pope.
And tonight we're doing our Pope on a Rope, and tonight we're going to be talking about Stephen VII. When he was a pope, he ordered the corpse of his predecessor, Formanus, to be removed from his tomb and propped up on the throne to be tried for perjury. That's creepy. I mean, the body is dead. It's obviously not going to speak. And the fact that you took it out of the ground or tomb or whatever to put it on trial, are you really mental? I mean, that doesn't make any sense. Of course, the corpse was found guilty, obviously, stripped of its papal vestments, and then 3 fingers used in it for consecration were cut off. So digging up the dead body was not bad enough. We had to cut off 3 fingers from it. The body was finally interred in a graveyard for foreigners, only to be dug up once again, tied to weights, and then cast into the Tiber's River. Ew. Now, this particular pope, when he was alive, he served from May 22nd, 896, like we say 19 whatever, 20 whatever. He was a papal from 896 to August 14th, 897 for a year and 84 days. He was the 113th pope that they had. And him digging up the cadaver and then putting it on trial was known as the Cadaver Synod. Atheist Ranger, your thoughts?
This sounds like something I would see from Tales from the Crypt or, like Rocky Horror Show or something. That is just like creepy. In fact, whenever the Tales from the Crypt make a reboot, which I'm hoping they will very soon, I hope that's actually one of the episodes.
That would be funny.
That would be creepy and funny. I agree.
Yes, it definitely would be.
All I can say is it's a good thing this man has been dead for thousands of years.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Matt, your thoughts?
Well, talk about having no respect for the dead, huh?
Yeah. Well, it's just a dead body at that point, But
why would they do that though? It's like, okay, the guy's dead. There's nothing you can do. I mean, he's not a breathing person anymore. Once you're dead, you're dead. I mean,
it's not like he's gonna go, oh shucky darn, I need to defend myself. I gotta get a lawyer. Really?
Or unless like they did in the X-Files when they brought back Fox Mulder from the dead.
Spoilers. I haven't seen them.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We had a quick comment from the chat room from Tuck Frump. Weekend at Bernie's Pope style. So, and the sad part about that is they made 2 movies out of that.
Yeah.
I would have hated to have been that guy. Just saying. All right, well, we got to get out of here. I want to thank everybody that came to the live show. We'll be back again next week at 9 p.m. Central Time. If you'd like to make a donation to the show, you can go to patreon.com/PackardPokesat for a per episode donation. And Patreon has pulled its whatever it's out of its butt and decided to go back to the way they were. So if you want to make a donation there, you're not going to get charged any extra. But if you don't want to do that, you can go to paypal.me/PackardPokesat and make a direct donation to the show. And there's a new site that we're going with right now. It's called Maker Support. That's at makersupport.com/PackardPokesat. You can make a donation there as well. I'm not sure exactly how all that works, but you can sign up with your bank account or your charge card or whatever, and you can make donations there as well. I don't think they charge you anything. I could be wrong, but they take donations too. So if you want to make a donation to them, you're more than welcome, of course. We'll be back next week. Until then, this has been Packard Pokesat. We just poked at your news.
And that's a wrap.